Gene editing and designer babies, it's kind of wild, right? It's like straight out of sci-fi. But we're going to like dive into that today using these notes you gave me for a possible podcast, Genetic Futures.
Yeah, I think people don't always realize that gene editing, it's already happening like right now in medicine and agriculture, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, totally. I remember reading about scientists using CRISPR to like fight cancer.
Oh, yeah.
Editing genes in immune cells seems like, whoa, this is insane. This is real.
Yeah.
So maybe you're listening like, wait, what's CRISPR? Well, think of it like, imagine you have a DNA strand, a huge one, and you need to fix just one tiny little error, but you don't want to like rewrite the whole thing. You just want to pinpoint that error and instantly correct it.
And that's CRISPR. It's like a molecular scalpel, just super precise editing of genes, and it's a game changer.
Right, like way better than the old methods, which were
Oh, yeah, way.
kind of clunky.
Yeah, really, really clunky.
Yeah, so we have this crazy tool that can rewrite the building blocks of life. And that's exciting, but it also kind of brings up some like serious questions, right? Like when we start talking about designer babies.
Yeah, well, the genetic futures notes go into both sides, like the good and the bad. Let's start with the good stuff, because it's pretty amazing. Eradicating diseases like cystic fibrosis or Huntington's disease.
Like that's huge.
Huge, especially for families who've been affected by those conditions. It's like a new hope.
I can see that for sure. But then there's that other side of the coin, the genetic enhancement side.
Right. And Genetic Futures has this whole discussion about that. Some people are saying if we can edit genes to prevent disease, then shouldn't parents be able to choose, intelligence or how athletic their kid is? Where do we even draw the line between therapy and enhancement?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's one thing to like level the playing field by getting rid of genetic diseases, but then using gene editing to give someone an advantage to actually design babies with enhanced traits.
Right.
That's a whole different story.
Totally different. It's a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
And the notes they get into all of that, like who gets to decide which traits are even desirable? Could this lead to like a society where the wealthy just designs superior children? Making inequality even worse.
Right. It's like something out of a dystopian novel. But it's not. It's becoming real. And that's why I think this deep dive is so important. It's not just some abstract concept. We're talking about real stuff that could actually change the future.
Absolutely. This is the future of humanity we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It really makes you think, like curing diseases, that's amazing. But actually choosing your kid's traits, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like we're stepping into this crazy new world and we have no idea what we're doing. But that's where these genetic futures notes come in. They actually offer some solutions.
Yeah, one big thing is regulation. Like imagine having these committees, these ethics experts who review every single gene editing proposal.
So like a special group just for gene editing.
Exactly, making sure everything's safe and ethical,
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the parents? Like they need to know what they're getting into, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Informed consent's a huge part of this. And the notes talk about genetic counseling. So parents would have experts to explain everything, like all the complexities of gene editing, but in plain language so they can actually understand.
So basically education and regulation.
Pretty much.
Making sure the tech is used responsibly and parents can make informed choices.
Exactly. And then there's even this idea of a global moratorium on certain types of gene editing, like the ones that could change traits in future generations.
Whoa, a global moratorium. That's like hitting the pause button.
It is. It's a big deal. Some experts think it's the only way to be really cautious with a technology this powerful.
Yeah, I get that. But, we can't let fear stop us completely. I mean, the benefits of gene editing are just too huge.
Oh, for sure. And the genetic futures notes make that really clear. This tech has the potential to help so many people.
It's like we're walking this tightrope. On one side, we have the potential to cure diseases. And on the other side, we have all these unknowns and the possibility of going too far.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Not about taking sides, but having honest conversations and really thinking about what kind of future we want.
And that brings us back to you, the listener. This whole deep dive, it's about giving you the information you need to make up your own mind about gene editing.
Right. It's not just about the science. It's about all of us coming together to figure out how to use it responsibly.
So as we wrap up this part, think about this. What are your thoughts on gene editing? What are you hoping for? What are you worried about?
Because this isn't just some theoretical debate. This is real life.
Yeah.
This is going to affect all of us.
It's crazy how we started talking about CRISPR and now we're talking about like the future of society.
It is, right. It's
Yeah.
not just science anymore.
No, not at all. The genetic futures notes, they talk about this, about gene editing being a mirror. you know?
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Like, are we trying to get rid of suffering or are we trying to make perfect humans? I don't know. It's a tough one.
That's the question, isn't it? And who gets to answer it? The notes talk about that too, you know? Like we're talking about preventing some horrible disease. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But what about intelligence or athletic ability? Should parents get to choose that stuff?
Right. It's like if you could get rid of a gene that causes a disease, wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, probably.
But what if you could tweak a gene to make your kid smarter or more musical? It's like, where's the line?
Exactly. And Genetic Futures warns about that slippery slope. Like, it's not just about one family making a choice. It's
Right.
about the whole society. What if only rich people can afford these enhancements?
Then it just makes inequality even worse. It's
Exactly.
like we're changing the rules of the game, but not just the game of life, the game of society.
Right. The stakes are high.
That's why I think these conversations are so important.
Me too. We need to be talking about this stuff.
And that's what this whole deep dive is about, giving you the tools to think about these issues. Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it's going to be up to all of us to decide how this technology gets used.
That's right. Informed decisions, that's what we need.
So I'm going to leave you with this. Imagine we're all having this big global conversation about gene editing. What's important to you? What are your hopes and fears? Because this is the future we're talking about.
The future for all of us.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been intense, but hopefully you've learned something.
Yeah, hopefully this gives everyone some food for thought.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.